Hey guys, what's going on? Before I jump into this Bleach review, first of all, I just want to say I apologize for being away from you guys and girls, for so long. And the reason why is because I've been busy with a lot of schoolwork and things like that. Most of the time I've just been lazy and just didn't want to, make any videos and things like that. So, as you can see by watching this video that, I have returned and I am ready to make more videos for you guys to enjoy, whenever you have the time to watch my videos and such, things like that. So, without further ado, let's jump into this Bleach chapter review. Well, before that, I hope you guys, obviously enjoyed this chapter as much as I did. Of course, no action was involved, but, information was told to us, as we read it and things like that. So, I'm still happy about reading this chapter. So anyways, without further ado, let's jump into this chapter. Now, this is Bleach chapter number 565 entitled God Like You. Now, it first starts off basically with this silhouette black image of Juha Bach when he was a baby. And they basically was saying that as an infant, he basically could not hear, he could not move his arms or nor his legs. Basically, he couldn't really do anything, and they thought he was just like this vulnerable infant. He, like you say, he couldn't defend himself. But just because people thought that he couldn't do defend himself doesn't mean that he was completely weak, altogether, basically. Because people later found out that this baby had the ability to distribute some of his soul into other people and heal them. Like for instance, if someone had like a lung disease, their lungs would be healed, or if they were like missing an arm or any other appendage, it would heal, or if they were cowards, they would become courageous, things like that. And people who had, I think it said like people who basically were healing, but if they only had one soul, that piece of Juha Bach's soul would heal them up completely. Basically, it would give them the knowledge, the effort, whatever was in their soul, by due to the piece of soul that they received from Juha Bach, that they received from this baby, Juha Bach. Obviously, it'll make them stronger, basically. It's like make them like impervious to basically anything, honestly, because this baby was like a treasure or a god in a sense. But there were some risks though. Once they said basically some people would later start to die within about a few years or months or maybe in a few days because what this piece of his soul, his power could do to them. But people basically disregarded that and they still continued to touch this baby to get the power that they actually needed, from this baby, because he's just like this holy prophet, healing everybody. And once these individuals died, basically, he received the souls would basically go back to him. It's pretty much it was like rental, basically, for the souls given to these people, and when they die, it'll go back to Juha Bach. And once this happened, he started to hear again. He started to see, he started to hear. He started to move his arms, legs and things like that. He started to speak once more. And once he was able to hear, he heard people calling him by this weird name, as if he was some kind of like god or something like that was calling him. But as he got older, he later decided to give himself his own name, basically, which was obviously Juha Bach in this sense. And then they switched over to where His Majesty was just sitting in the Vonderreich location in his chair and asleep, and he called out like Jengis had finally died, and he said, "Good, now your soul can come back to me now." And then basically it skips over to where Uryu, he goes up to His Majesty's chambers. He's about to knock on the door, and that's when Haschwald interrupted him, saying, "What are you doing at this time? His Majesty is basically sleeping and is trying to restore his Reishi, his power." And Uryu said, he basically had to go talk to him about something. And of course, those two just like bickering and arguing and stuff. And Uryu saying, "I don't have to explain my reason as to why I'm here at this moment," basically. And of course, Haschwald, tells Uryu, it doesn't matter, you still shouldn't be here, that His Majesty is in this vulnerable position to where he needs to sleep to restore his, his power and whatnot. And then he starts going on. Uryu started going on about how Haschwald, used to look a little bit more different back in his like younger days and whatnot, and things like that. And that's when Haschwald just went on to explain something about how His Majesty, like I said, he restores youth and power and such, and that he's the father to Quincy, and that he himself, Haschwald, will become the mask. I think the mask of like power, or the mask of something basically, and that he and his majesty were connected. But then he later switched and said, no, we, him, his majesty, all of us Star Knights are all connected basically. Then that's when he decided to explain to Uryu that since you're the successor, I should go ahead and tell you the real reason why this all happening. Then he goes on to tell the whole reason what Juha Bach is capable of. As a child he was capable of absorbing, not absorbing. He has the ability, to distribute some of his soul to other Star Knights basically, which is the opposite of what Quincy do, that they absorb Reishi from all surrounding objects to give them their power. But we know that Juha Bach does the opposite basically. And now he figured out a way to do it in a more strong and powerful way than his usual method of distributing his power of his soul basically to other Star Knights. He figured that if by carving an initial into each, individual Star Knight's soul, that he could be able to distribute his own soul, a piece of it, into them, make them even more powerful basically. And Uryu was a bit skeptical about this, because he figured like, how the hell can you be able to do something like this? And of course, that's when Haschwald reminded him, like, you went through that ritual where you have to drink His Majesty's blood in order for him to carve your initial, for that initial to be carved into your soul, for him to put some of his soul into you. And then that's when Haschwald, just went up to him and just slammed his hand against the wall, pinning Uryu, make sure he ain't go anywhere. And he's talking about like the distinction of something in his eyes, how the way they look now. And he's telling him like, now you regret the decision that you basically made, And he said the whole reason why you probably even accepted this invite is so that you can, avenge your mother, for what happened, how she died and such. But basically, he can't really get out of this situation now, basically. As soon as you drink that blood and that initial is carving your chest, you basically belong to Juha Bach now. Him saying, I give you some of my soul, and in return, I want you to use it, and once you die, it's going to come right back to me, since Juha Bach is like this almighty for all Quincy and stuff. And then he started going on about that, about how other Quincy and, the Soul Reapers and the Quincy that were fighting in battle, and that some of their, soul basically rubbed off on this Shinigami, and if that they were to die, or if anybody were to die in that matter, their soul, piece of their soul will go back to Juha Bach basically. So it doesn't matter if it's a Star Knight or a Shinigami, it's going to come back to them regardless. And then he explained like how, if His Majesty basically does not get enough sleep, if he doesn't sleep and go through this ritual of restoring his power, then he will basically go back to the way how he was as an infant, that he couldn't hear, speak, move his limbs or whatnot. So basically, all Star Knights, well, sorry, I'm babbling, like what Haschwald explained to Uryu, that you live for your majesty and then you're gonna die for your majesty. It's like a credo of what every warrior go through. You fight for your leader and you die for your leader. Obviously, there's no backing out of it whatsoever. And then he goes on to say, finally, dawn has struck once again, and that His Majesty is awake and is ready to take on, another day. And that's when you see Juha, Juha Bach finally waking up and says, dawn has finally hit. He said, thank you, for those souls. Thank you for the warriors who died and give me their souls. Now he's ready for another day of fighting, basically. And that's where the chapter ends. Alright, so let's get into the discussion. Overall, pretty good chapter, whatnot. It's pretty decent. Now, the past chapters, I'm sorry, like I said before, I wanted to do reviews on those, because those are pretty interesting chapters. But the whole Reggie taking on that one Star Knight, and chapters before and whatnot, those are pretty good reviews. I wish I could have did them, but obviously for my reasons of why, so hopefully there's going to be some chapters like that in the future for me to comment on and things like that, make videos and such. But yeah, this was a pretty good chapter. I mean, I wish I would have made my return debut of last week's chapter, but now I decided to do it now on this chapter. So like I said, it's a pretty good chapter where we were able to get into detail as to what Juha Bach is capable of power and things like that, or now we know what he can do, and the reverse of what Quincy do. So like I said, he's just like this almighty God, but now we know he has like a vulnerability, that he has to go through the sleep in order to restore his power. Because if he don't, well, we know the reason why if he doesn't. So that's pretty much like in his vulnerable state, you know. If someone went to disturb him, you know, he pretty much would have been screwed if we will. But then again, the man's all powerful anyway, so it really wouldn't matter. But yeah, now he's ready to fight again. You know, sending Star Knights out there. You know, new day. You know, new battle scene. You know, new battle fighting. You know, whatnot against Shinigami, Quincy, an all-out war. You know, bloodshed, whatnot. The battle rages on and things like that. So it's gonna get pretty interesting. I can't wait. You know, to see future chapters come out. I'm not gonna comment on them. Obviously, I'm gonna make some videos about that for you guys to watch and things like that. So so yeah, I'm excited about that. So yeah, that's pretty much all I gotta say for now for this chapter. You know, it's pretty decent. You know, no fighting scenes, whatnot. But like I said before, my other videos, obviously in the past, before you know I had went on my little break or whatnot. You know, it doesn't really matter which chapter. You know, it doesn't really matter how the chapter turns out. You know, if it's fighting scenes or not. I still like chapters. You know, like Kubo's work and things like that. You know, etc. You know, so pretty interesting chapter. So you know, can't wait for next week's chapter. You know, things like that. So that's, you know, pretty much all I gotta say. You know, leave your if you have any comments, you know, leave them in the comments section down below. Give me your thoughts and concerns about, you know, this chapter and what next week's gonna turn out to be. Or if I probably missed anything by mistake, you know, sorry, my first time, you know, in a while come back and making a video, you know, it's my little, make some few mistakes, you know, things like that. So yeah, that's pretty much all I gotta say for now, guys. You know, until next time, I'll see you guys later.